There are stories that connect us to ourselves and to each other. These stories reveal who we are and show us the many vivid colors of our truth. Welcome to Soul Wanderings, where we raise spiritual awareness and foster connections through these shared stories and personal experiences. Now, exclusively on KGRA Digital Broadcasting, your hosts, AJ and Natalie.
Hello, Wanderers. Welcome. It's Wandering Wednesday, and we are here to hang out with you. And looking forward to tonight. I am AJ.
I am Natalie.
And we are your hosts of Soul Wanderings. We're heard live on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern on live.kgradb.com. You can check out our show as well as all of the other many beautiful shows hosted here on kgradb.com. Also, we invite you to visit soulwanderings.com, where you can learn more about myself and Natalie and also connect to all of our social media links from there. So, hello.
Hello.
It's really awesome the way that we plan our topics for the week. There are no accidents in how we chose to do this. Hello, post-election day to all.
Yeah.
Very interesting energy and navigating through emotions for so many humans today. It is either one emotion or another. And we knew it would be no matter where the votes landed. And that's the reason why we decided for today to be the topic of emotional clarity. So today we're going to get real with ourselves and our emotions and have a deeper understanding that we are capable of being in control of our own emotions, our own environments, if you will. And Natalie, she is the expert when it comes to emotional clarity. It comes from a basis of human design. And so I'm going to just play hang out and ask you questions that I think others may ask you and allow you to take the floor, because this is what you do. This is how you help others in the day-to-day. You are the go-to. I go to you. Many others go to you. You know what's up. So emotional clarity, Natalie.
Oh, I was listening to a webinar. I only listened to a portion of the webinar today that was on human design in the business arena.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was looking at human design when you're in a larger group and how that all affects. But one of the questions that came through was, how do you listen to your solar plexus center, which is the center that is the emotional center within the 9-center being that we all are. We're all 9-centered beings. So if you start to understand the framework of the design and the 9-centered being, one of those centers is the emotional center, because it's the primary authority. If you have a defined solar plexus, it means you have emotional authority, which means that your way of making decisions is squarely in that center of emotions, which is a motor center and awareness center. So there's a lot of energy that goes along in that center. So the question was, how do I listen to my solar plexus? How do I know when it's clear? And one of the people leading they both were emotional, but one had not conscious emotion, and the lady that was responding was an emotional projector. And she said she gets this nervous sort of feeling. So if she's going towards making a decision and she feels any sort of that nervous energy she doesn't feel settled, and she doesn't feel relatively calm, she knows that she needs to at least wait another day for a decision. So that's a little primer. So first and foremost, if you're listening to this and you get tugged at all about human design, there's lots of sites out there to get a free chart and learn whether or not you're emotional. It'll say that in your inner authority. If you're emotional, then this conversation is for both. Whether you have emotional definition or you don't, you get affected by emotional energy. But the awareness of whether it's your emotional waves that you've got to wade through, or if you need to have the awareness that you need to wait for someone else's emotional waves to get done making waves. So that's the first steps of talking about this emotional energy, and waiting for emotional energy to dissipate, and understanding that emotional energy is inherently chaotic. It's a motor, which means that it's churning. Like if you were to put a boat motor into the water, it churns the water to make momentum to move the boat. The solar plexus center, being a motor, moves the person that has that center of definition, and it moves each one of us that have that emotional energy. And it definitely moves non-emotional people as well. So it's really important to understand that because emotions have a lot of energy about them, there is no truth in the now when it comes to emotional things. So I'm going to just step into the moment. We're not talking political, but we're talking about this post-election for those of us that are in the United States.
Thank you. This is what I wanted to do first.
There are people that have a lot of energy that are, and if they were on the Democratic side and hoping for Kamala Harris to be elected and finding out that she didn't get elected, there are a lot of people that are full of angst and fear and worry and definitely a lot of emotional energy. Now, we don't have any idea how either one of them would have done, even if we say, post-election, nobody knows how the next 4 years is going to unfold. We're only going to guess. And so right now, with all this emotional energy wound up, there really is no clarity in all of this. We don't really know. And that's a first step to say, okay, hold on. Now we have a new normal. Now we have an idea of what's going to happen. Of course, we never really know what's going to happen, but we know that Donald Trump was elected president again. And that just feels very much awful for and because it was we're almost split across this country, like half and half. There's a lot of support in either side. So it feels kind of like the Super Bowl. And then you've got one team that won the Super Bowl and one team that lost the Super Bowl. There's clearly.
And you think how emotional people get over sports. And we're talking about our country.
Yes.
So high-end emotions.
High-end emotions, right. So I want to just put out there and just say, okay, there's not a lot of truth in emotions, but there is a lot of energy in them. So I do want to say that, acknowledge that clearly. There's a lot of energy in emotions. And from the framework of human design, there is a lot to be said by giving emotions time to dissipate. Energy needs time to dissipate. And so we're going to need to give ourselves a bit of time to dissipate. Now, I'm going to say on the side, if you were people that were pro-Trump and super excited, there's a lot of energy in being super excited too. Then you have to get in and do some work. And so even that doesn't have truth in it. Neither side has truth.
Right. There's a lot of promises being made on both sides. We just have to see how it all plays out. And that's how I like to look at the emotions. Yeah, it sounds all bright and shiny right now for half of the country, right? But what's really going to take place? And that's how emotions are. We feel everything so intensely in the moment of the emotion. But after we sleep on it, we wake up the next day and we're like, oh, yeah, that something has shifted. It's not as intense.
Right. Now that's really the recipe for gaining emotional clarity. But first and foremost, there needs to be this discussion that you and I have had lots of discussion about emotional clarity.
Well, we're emotional.
Yes.
In our design.
Yes.
And so it is a popular topic that we discuss. Yeah. I appreciate everyone's feedback. We're not going to talk about politics. It's great. Like, everyone has an opinion. I love that everyone has an opinion and a thought and a feeling, but there's thoughts and opinions. There's no truth. Nothing is real.
It's really when we talk about the it's all an illusion. We did a couple weeks ago. Even this is it really is an illusion when we don't take it too seriously. Sit back and watch the movie, watch things that as they play out, because we don't really know in these moments. So back to dealing with emotional energy, that emotions have a lot of energy. So it's really uncomfortable when you have these intense emotions that can be quite distressing. Ultimately, there's a high level of discomfort, and we want to make them stop, control them, push them down. That's not the recipe that I talk about on a regular basis with people. Is they lean in. You have to feel it to go through the healing of it. You have to allow the emotions to fully dissipate. And emotions are very much a body experience. So you may have stress that's in the body and crying, or, depending on the emotion. If you're happy, then there's a whole body experience with happy emotions as well. So there is this understanding that I want to impart to people that say it's uncomfortable, and you have to learn how to just hold on, even though it's uncomfortable. Hold on through it, and don't do anything that is going to, so they don't make decisions in a space of emotions.
I think that's been the biggest thing for me personally. I can only speak for myself, right? I used to react like in the heat of the emotion because it was so real, and what I felt was, right. My ego was so in the way. And now when I get that heightened sense of emotion, no matter what that is, I now am like, okay, just breathe. None of this is real right now. I won't feel this way tomorrow or even in a couple of hours. It literally is like riding a wave.
Right. Or riding out a storm.
Right.
I like to, I talk about this all the time, and I will say it over and over and over and over and over and over again, because that's the way emotional energy happens with the people that are emotionally defined. And then the other half of the planet that, according to their human design, if they're not defined, then they are riding up and down on other people's emotions all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Because inevitably you're going to be around someone that is emotional.
That's true.
So understanding that emotional people have a wave after wave after wave, just like the ocean.
Right.
It would be really scary if we went to a beach and the ocean wasn't moving.
It would be very eerie, wouldn't it be?
Yeah.
Definitely a good analogy to even look at it that way.
Yeah. So we want to understand that. And so it's like, okay, so you can relax and understand that that in that intensity,
Mm-hmm.
It can be very difficult if it's a brand new practice for anyone to just breathe.
Right. Well, and you have to look at like where I come from. You come from the human design. Once again, if you guys are new, Natalie comes from human design perspective. I come from an energetic and spiritual perspective. We meet in the middle. Sometimes they're exactly the same and sometimes they're a little different. But from what I'm looking at, like the way that emotions come up for you and when they get that intense, it is a chemical reaction also. So you're not just being focused on rewiring the emotion or changing the thoughts in your head, right? Your body is also having that physical reaction to the emotion. And so there's a lot of things going on, and it affects your adrenals, it affects your nervous system, it does all kinds of things, especially when you're working on like the lower end of the emotions, like fear. Fear and that chemical in your body can also become very addictive. People get addicted to being in that fear, that emotion. And
Mhm.
and I mean, same with love on the very opposite end of the spectrum. I think we've all known someone who's been obsessed with love. Some people think I am because I'm always like, love is the answer. But maybe I am, and that's okay. What a great drug, right?
Don't feel bad for that.
But it's interesting how you say like just ride this wave and just know that nothing in that you are thinking right now is real and that it will pass. And I look at it like emotions affect your mind and body. They affect all aspects of your life. If you are alive, you're feeling some sort of emotion. It's chemical. And so rewiring or changing the way that you're explaining is very powerful, but you still have that residual energy that's lingering from the emotion.
Experience. Mhm.
Right. Right. And what do you do with that?
So
Shake it
there,
out.
yeah. It's like, breathe.
Dance party. That's what I do.
60 seconds of insane happiness or insane movement or shake it down, shake it off.
Yeah.
These are all practical tips.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you have been in the habit throughout your life of asking people to change their behavior because you get emotion and you blame another person for your emotion. Now, let's just talk about that habit that people will get into, because people will, this is really common language to say, you made me mad.
Mm-hmm.
You need to change your behavior because I don't want to be mad anymore. And since you made me mad, change your behavior. You're the one, you're the one that caused this in me.
Right.
And on a high conscious, I don't know if high is the right word, but on a consciousness level, there's a teaching that said no one actually can cause an emotion in another person. Nobody can cause an emotion in you or a reaction in you. Whatever your internal emotional response or even fear or different things is based on a framework that is inside of you. It's based on a person's belief structure, previous experience, trauma, if there was that, different relationship things, childhood conditioning. All of that framework is inside an individual person. Mm-hmm. And when something exterior to you happens, then you run through all this framework that may not even be conscious, and you have a reaction. You have a button that gets pushed. All of that is based on your internal things. And so it's an understanding that said, maybe we've been in a habit of asking the world to change around us so that we can be more comfortable in our own skin, mm-hmm. which is definitely something that's happened a lot. There's even conditioning. We can even train our children in various ways through school or other things to say, tell me exactly what you're feeling and go say sorry to this person and you made them feel bad. And this is all conditioned into us. So it's not that it's anyone's fault. This is just the world that we live in as it lives in. It's a bit radical to say, this isn't anyone's thing. This is my thing. I take 100% responsibility for my emotional energy that I'm going through at the moment. And I'm just going to sit in it because I'm going to learn a lot if I don't do anything. And if I just move through it, then I'm going to learn a lot. Mm-hmm. I'm going to strengthen my emotional muscle. A lot of times we don't think about building up our emotional muscles by holding out a little bit longer and holding out a little bit longer. It's like weightlifting. This is emotional weightlifting for people.
Yeah, right. That's a great way to look at it. I want to give some credit to our listeners in the chat. If you are listening to us live, we are hanging out over on YouTube at Soul Wanderings. We actually have our own YouTube channel. We're also on KGRA Digital Broadcasting's Facebook, Rumble, X, and Twitch pages. So if you guys want to hang out there, or live.kgradb.com, and you can ask questions or interact with the conversation. I just want to share really quick a couple of these comments that are coming through that Chanel's been posting up on the screen, but if you're not live, I want to make sure you guys see them. But in regards to the conversation that we're having, relationships and friendships end over emotional reactions. And I think right now that's happening quite a bit. People are very passionate about what they believe and how they feel. And there are a lot of friendships and relationships, like with family, even ending over these big emotions. There was also another, thank you, Maria, by the way. Charles said, timely, honest, inspiring, needed, kind equals think. And so
like that.
Really beautiful way to think before you express your feelings. And also, earthbound emotions may be why we chose to be here. And so just some good little nuggets out there. You guys are great. I love it.
I was spending some time with my 7-year-old nephew today, and he was talking about enjoying. He was eating some ham, and he said, "I really enjoy ham." And I said, savor is also another word for enjoy. Mm-hmm. And if you savor food, that's on the spectrum of emotions. So we don't want to shut down our emotions. There's such goodness in emotional energy, and depending on the aspect or the spectrum of emotions that you're going in. But even in the darker melancholic, there's a lot to be said. There's a lot of creative energy. There's wonderful songs or poetry written from the darkness, the dark side and the deeper emotions as you go through it.
I love dark, deep, depressing music. I do. If I am riding a wave, let me go deeper. Let me really ride that wave. I want to feel all of the emotion.
Oh, I agree with you. I remember times when I was really deep in my grieving journey, and I would play a song that would wring it out of me. Like, I want it wrung out of me. And this is another thing of, other than just breathing. Like when you go in, there's times where listening, and I don't want anyone to go in so dark. This is just a little thing to say. If you're super, super dark and you're feeling like you need to end it all, that's a different thing than what you and I are talking about. We're not talking about that level of extreme. But if you start to practice some of these habits, then you tend to not go as extreme, because you are moving through the energy in a different way and dissipating it so it doesn't build up. Someone in one of my groups recently said, it is so much easier to do this on a regular basis than to wait for it all to build up and have to do it all at once, or just one big build up.
Right. I would have to agree. I grew up like, don't cry, be a big girl, don't be a sissy, like whatever the wording was, like just don't do that. So I really got good at burying my emotions, and me being an emotional being obviously created some issues inside of my body, because that's what happens with energy when it's trapped.
Right.
But I previously would go like knock on that door where you're like, don't go so deep that I would knock, I would visit, I would even open and be like, what's going on in here? But it's really neat that I don't have to go that deep anymore, because it's like a regular thing now. It's like therapy. And that's what music does for me, or art, like just creating. And I feel like it's really important when you are stuck in the middle of this emotion, don't just necessarily like sit here and fester that you're having these emotions. There are different tools and different ways that you can move through the emotion in a faster way than before, so you have less suffering. And you'll find that way. Like, everyone's different. Find your way. Find what brings you through it and out of it in a healthy manner.
Oh, agreed. There's times where I remember I would just take late night walks to move. When I was grief was, when I was grieving hard in my life, that was the most intense emotional experience that I've ever been through. When I just didn't know, I just didn't want to be in my own skin. I wanted to escape. And those are real experiences. And I don't want to minimize this by talking about it in a practical way, but understand. I hope you understand. I talk about this all the time as far as emotional energy. And I do find that people, when they practice a little bit, so a person that had heard in my grief group, she just got hit with a wave of grief. And I will often say, hello, grief. And this is applicable for today for many people. They're grieving an idea or hope. It was dashed. And so it's like, oh, hello, grief. Come in, sit down. Let's have some tea and sit with it. I literally sit with it. Now that's the easy. It's not the easiest thing. It gets easier with practice. You and I both can attest to that. But this woman said, oh, she remembered. So she said, oh, hello, grief. Okay, come and sit down. Welcomed it in and spent a few minutes with it consciously.
Beautiful. What does it feel like to have emotional clarity? Like, how do you know that you've cleared through that wave, that emotional wave that we're talking about?
So for me, so my emotional wave runs under the surface. So I don't necessarily have conscious access to mine. That's particular to my design. So I've had to learn, it's not like being able to see it within my own framework, but I feel if I don't feel a yes or a no, then I don't feel I have clarity. So it'll feel like it'll drift, and it's much more of a yes or it's a no. So, and I've been practicing this for a long time, but I feel like I really did have to practice moving through my emotional energy and getting really comfortable and really cozy with being an emotional person. Even identifying it with my verbiage. Look, I'm a feeler. I'm an emotional person. I will openly admit that. And before I came in touch with the human design, I used Myers-Briggs personality typing. And so I knew that I made emotional decisions because I would measure out that way. It was a feeling in that. And that was how I make my decisions. It's important what color it is. It's important what color my car is. That's an important thing. That feels like an emotional thing for me. It's like, it's got to have a particular color to it. And the color makes a difference. And so for me, that's part of it is really feeling that word clarity. I feel much more clear about this, and it doesn't change. So I have practiced also understanding that decisions for someone that's emotionally defined or in an emotional time, don't make decisions with a lot of emotion going on, because you won't make the same decision in 3 days than you would in a spontaneous thing. People do this all the time with shopping. Shop to feel better, retail therapy. You fill the Amazon basket and go back in 3 days and you're just like, oh yeah, I don't feel like buying that anymore.
I'm a master. I really am.
So through practice, I've learned it's like, oh, okay, time. Really, I've just got to be a bit disciplined about giving my decisions time.
Right.
So what does it feel like for you?
I do a lot of self-reflection. I feel like that is how I get really clear with what I'm experiencing, how I'm feeling. So before, it was really chaotic and emotional, very emotional, and everything was just a lot. And after learning about my design and having you assist me in the ways that you have throughout the years, and the plethora of books and YouTube videos, I have all of these beautiful tools that we talk about in our toolbox. And I found the biggest thing for me is like deep self-reflection, like being a vital tool to achieving clarity and understanding on a much deeper level. Just like taking the time to really reflect on my thoughts and my feelings and really check in to see why I'm really feeling these things. So it's given me valuable insight to help me navigate that emotional landscape, if you will. So journaling has been really good, and not like writing down like big long stories, right? Because feelings and emotions are two different things, but emotions can create a story.
Oh,
and the stories aren't real. So I'm not talking about like journaling like this big old long story, but like writing down your emotions and thoughts and allow you to process your experiences more thoroughly because of it. Just even if it's like a bullet point system or however you choose, doodling, however you choose to do it. I feel like that's just been really helpful for me. And when I'm doing those things and nothing else is coming up for me, I have like this realization like, oh, I am not emotionally attached to what I was experiencing before. That has moved through me. And not just through journaling or self-reflection, like it is an energy thing too. Like it's all encompassing. And so I think it's just a process now, instead of saying, all these things in the heat of my emotion, because I used to be really good at that. And I was right, because they were my feelings. I know I don't need to waste my energy on that any longer, because yes, they are my feelings, but I don't have to prove, or my emotions, I should say. I don't have to prove that to anybody else. And I don't have to prove a point about how I'm having or why I'm having this emotion. This is me. This has nothing to do with anyone else. And so when I took other people out of the equation, I lost expectations and disappointment and all of these other unnecessary experiences, and it allowed more peace in my life.
Which is a beautiful thing for you.
Is exactly where I'm meant to be, yes. As a manifester.
While you were talking, we've had this last year has given us, well, it's the times that we're in. So anyway, when you were talking, I thought our minds will tell us all kinds of stories, and especially with emotional energy churning up. And so I was laughing on the inside because I thought, oh, we've got to be careful of our own internal misinformation, like fact check ourselves. And a lot of times if you write the story down, and then let's just say it's some assumptions or expectations based on someone else and the way that they're behaving, and then you get into a conversation with that person, and that person explains their part, where they were, or whatever was going on with them, and you find out that what the mind was telling you does not equal to what they were going through. This has been a common thing in my personal life, is my mind will make up all the stories. And I don't even know where it's coming from, but the ideas, and it can kind of feel like, well, maybe I'm getting some intuitive read, especially if you practice any dealing with connecting to your intuition. And even with the intuitive level, you got to fine tune the intuition too, because I was like, oh, intuitively, I know this or that or the other. And then I would do this fact checking by listening to someone else of what they were doing in their day. And I was like, wow, that I was not accurate. That was not at all what was going on and churning in the story being told inside of me. And so I loved the ability to just say, all right, emotion, see that? This is truth. There's no truth in it. The mind wants to make up stories. And those stories are drawing up an emotional reaction in me. And that wasn't really fun. Okay, so that's something to note. And then you move from there. And so it's all this experiment with this concept. And how it works for you and I is not the way it's going to work for another person, because everyone's constructed somewhat different. But the core mechanical principles that human design teaches is that there is no truth in the now.
Yeah.
Because it's always moving. It's always moving up and down the wave.
That's one of the biggest things that I have learned from you, is there is no truth in the now. Like, I've read it. I've heard people preach it. But when you have somebody on your team constantly reminding you when you're having an emotional reaction that there's no truth in the now, it's like, oh, what am I doing? Why am I getting so emotional over this? It's not even real.
In the beginning, it can feel really raw. I told this
definitely.
to someone the other day. I said, there's no truth in her emotions. And he said, well, it certainly feels like there's a lot of truth that she's spitting at me. And it's like, no, it can definitely feel like that. And then it can also feel like someone else is having going through an emotional something or other. Yeah. It can really draw any of us in, because we can really feel for that person, whatever's going on with them. And if they're really upset about something and they've got explanations, you can want to adjust for this person to go through that. But there's also benefit from allowing time for anyone to go through their own storm that they're going through. Believe in their ability to make it through it, instead of jumping at this idea that they won't be able to make it. Just hold this belief, like, I know that they'll be able to make it through that. And we hold that energy in our heart. And that's really powerful, because the power of intention. So as we're watching other people go through this difficult time, we just hold that love and understanding that everybody can make through whatever their storm is at any given time.
I love that you brought that up. I have to say, being an emotional human by design, and it is real in real life. It, for like my husband or whoever's been around me that knows that I'm emotional, for them to support me when I'm emotional the way that they do now, with the understanding of I'm just need to move through it, is much more supportive than I've had in the past, where I have received a lot of backlash for having emotions. Like, you're so emotional, or control your emotions, or, whatever thing that they've said, which has made me even more emotional or more angry. Like, don't tell me what to do, and I feel this way, and insert whatever, right? So knowing those around you who are having emotions, and just like being more compassionate and understanding and holding space for them to navigate their way through it, is so supportive. And I even look at people who are emotional, way more emotional than I am, because sometimes I've even looked at them in judgment, like, whoa, that's a lot of emotion. It's way too much emotion for me. And now I can like, oh, okay, I see what's happening. And it just makes like life in general, because we're all such emotional beings, whether we're designed that way or not, we all have emotions, just so much easier and so much support, so much more supportive. And have found myself to be more of a compassionate human being and understanding that these emotions for some people are just super intense.
Definitely, they are. It can be. So, want to talk for a minute about the other side of people in the human design system. If you have the solar plexus and it doesn't have definition, it means that you have a center that emotional energy runs through. So I've come to use feeling versus emotions for people that have an undefined solar plexus. So I was having a conversation with someone earlier today, and this analogy came up because she said, well, there's this trapped emotional energy, and is it from me or is it from someone else? And I said, okay, so you are the thermometer, you're not the temperature.
Mm.
And so being a thermometer that is simply measuring temperature, that's what I would say undefined emotional people are. They're measuring the temperature of someone, if we use that as far as a measurement of saying, whoa, someone is going through an emotional energy. They're super happy. Whoo, this feels really good. It's great to ride on a happy wave. Or they're measuring whatever the full spectrum of emotions get felt by people that are non-emotional.
Mm-hmm.
And it is very freeing for people that are non-emotional to then understand their nature is not that. Their actual nature is cool. Not up and down. Their ups and downs are generally from someone else, being in the aura of some other person. And so they need to understand that their nature is inherently that thermometer, which means that they won't have as much caring about emotional stuff as an emotional person will. They'll approach these things differently, and that's their actual nature. And that's a thing to understand in itself because it's different.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely a difference in this arena. So for them to find emotional clarity, they need to pay attention to how they feel within their own skin when they're by themselves. And then pay attention to if they encounter someone else or other people and notice the shift, and then understand that the shift comes from other people's energy and it's not their own energy. So this is the part of paying attention to the way we feel in our own skin, in those places where we're calm and things are just going along fairly well, and then notice when things shift. It requires a level of consciousness and a level of discipline to hold this and have an understanding over time, because emotions run over time, over this long period of time. So they need time to show themselves. It's like filling in a jigsaw puzzle over time.
Mm-hmm.
So emotions will reveal a picture over a longer period of time.
I love that you brought that up once again. I wanted to touch on that because from my understanding with human design, I may be emotional and the person next to me may not be, but depending on what channels and gates are open or closed or however that works, they'll be picking up on my emotional energy. And I imagine right now with the state of affairs, like that is happening times billions, right? Because all of these humans are having these big emotions.
Right.
When that's the case, when we're feeling emotions, even energetically by every single person around us, because everyone is having an emotion today, what would you say? What would you recommend for us to do individually to move through that?
There benefits in understanding that Americans have a very short memory. And so we do this every 4 years, but every 4 years, there's a lot of time in between those things. So that's one thing to cognitively understand. We've been through this before.
Mm-hmm.
And literally it was...
and we've survived the last 4 years.
Right. And then even the 4 before that.
Right.
So we go backwards in time and understanding it's like, oh, okay, we've been through these things before. And that's an ability to put this aspect of time in it. And really this, I want to say a bit of a disassociation, but not necessarily a psychological disassociation, but definitely a personal disassociation from someone else's emotional energy about it.
I think right now would be a good time for everyone to like go within and get really clear with
except for those projectors, they'll have to watch everyone.
They have to watch everyone else. Yes.
Yes.
Just because I think right now where there's just so much going on and so many emotions, it's best that we probably just have like a timeout, if you will. And every person go in their own corner for a minute and take a nap. Tomorrow will be a different day. And some people even may be more angry tomorrow or more in grief tomorrow. But next week will feel different. And the week after that will feel different. And in a year from now, we'll all be different. And I think that's important, right? Today is not the end all, be all. It is just right now. And all of that will move through.
Oh, yeah. There is a benefit of, or that's a powerful tool to say, where are you right now? Be in your right nowness, in the ever present now, and really attend to where you are. A lot of times we can be swept up. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we need to take a break from the screens, from the infusion of, most of the time we're getting infusion from our news streams or various streams that have nothing to do with our own personal neighborhood. Like it can pull us off of being everywhere but where your body is. And it can be unhealthy to not be in your now, in your skin. That can actually drive anxiety. Simply by being not where you are. Our bodies miss us when our spirit is not connected to us. It knows when we're not completely in our own skin and when we're spending a lot of time elsewhere. Mm-hmm. And so that's another thing to bring in, that said, are you everywhere but in your now? And are you fully grounded? Are you fully in your skin?
Right. Don't
forget to look at the sky. I find we have the benefit of living near these lovely, lovely mountains. And I can go out my back door and look east to these mountains, and I suddenly get this cognitive understanding that those mountains have seen eons.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The other thing that when I've been explaining that we are objects moving through space. And so as objects moving through space, we don't really think about our planet is always moving through the galaxy, mm-hmm. through the universe, through the cosmos, through this bigger and bigger picture. We're always moving through space. So as you look at that, you start to get that this is a teeny thing compared to the greater universe. And that's a beneficial thing because it puts this perspective in where you can just take a moment and say, okay, so this is happening in the now. Then it can shift it from being so caught up in the storm to watch the movie that we're in.
Right.
We don't want to get too wrapped up in the drama and take it too serious, but this is a fun time to be alive.
It is exciting. And if you believe, we all signed up for this. We were like, yes, Put us in the middle of that shit show. Let's do that. So whatever reason we did it for, we did it. And what a blessing either way, right? Like, these are big times. These are big movements, not just in our world, but our galaxy. Like, and it's creating a ripple effect to all the timelines and all of the lives, past, present, and future. There is a lot of emotion going on. And I'm so glad that we chose to have the emotional clarity conversation tonight. If you have any questions or want a deeper understanding of emotional clarity, I highly recommend you reach out to Natalie, and you can do that by going to soulwanderings.com. She can help you navigate your way through those emotions and teach you how to do that with ease and grace. She's a pro. That's what she does.
Mm-hmm.
And, I shared on my social media today that you can only control your own environment. And if you want to go into someone else's environment, you have no control over that. And so if you want your world to be a beautiful place, create beauty in your own environment, and you'll find a lot of peace there if you choose to create that. And everything outside of us is happening regardless of how we feel on the inside. So make your environment beautiful, peaceful, safe, loving, however you choose to do that. And that's what everything will look like in your reality. And that's what you can control. Do you have anything to add to that?
I was seeing that just like we have to do housekeeping within our environment, I was seeing my mind's eye how we have to. There's times where we have to take out the stinking thinking thoughts, the rubbish thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to just literally choose to take those out to the dumpster and put those away. And we do have a lot of effect to that environment, and we do have a lot of ability to direct our personal world. And so if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you're right. And so we want to have the cans. We want to know that no matter who is sitting in that director's chair, that doesn't have to ruin our world. It really doesn't have to do that. And so it takes a level of responsibility for each one of us to say, okay, well, that's that. And then I have control of my own world.
Yes.
And the ability to navigate all of the things no matter what.
So what world will you create from here on out? We invite you guys to create a beautiful and amazing environment for yourselves.
Yeah.
Thank you for all of the sharing tonight, Natalie.
Oh,
I love that you had so much to share. Just kick back and just was like, yeah, I've got the night off. This is good.
I love the opportunity to share things that I'm passionate about. That's for sure.
And you're so good at it. And a big thank you to our listeners. We really enjoy the interaction in the chat rooms. Your thoughts are really important to us. And so it's neat to see them being shared in the safe space. If you have any topic requests or any questions in general, make sure you email us at connect@soulwanderings.com. You can also reach out to Natalie there if you are interested in a human design appointment. And we'll see you all next week. Thanks again for being here, and good night, everyone.
Have a good one.